All right, everybody. With that being said, welcome aboard. If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned in to a very special edition of the HFWB podcast series. This is your host, Clifton Pope. And of course, before I bring on my guest for today, I got to mention that this episode of the podcast is also being brought to you by the Go and Feel Great system. As you can tell, for those who are watching on YouTube, I got my Unicity Unimate, courtesy of feelgreat.com. It'll help you get up and go without a doubt, and it'll help you feel great for the long haul as far as combating insulin resistance, helping you lose weight naturally, lower your A1C, etc. So be sure to go visit goandfeelgreat.com and get you your own Unicity package with the Unicity Unimate and the Unicity Balance. We got to keep on healing people from within naturally, without a doubt. But with that being said, the guest who I'm about to bring on today, someone who I've kind of admired from afar, I'm going to be completely honest, based off of just mutual connections that we have like within the community. And it was bound to happen as far as us crossing paths. So here we are. Let me just say this. Can you imagine like taking care of yourself for a change? Can you imagine being happier than you have been in years? As a matter of fact, can you enjoy your life more than ever you thought was possible? Well, the guest I'm about to bring on is going to explain how to do that exactly, because us podcast colleagues, we got to stick together. She's the host of the Start in the Middle podcast. On top of that, she's a certified trauma-informed coach and a certified life coach. She's all about coaching you up to, of course, developing better habits to, of course, improve yourself every single day, especially to the women out there over the age of 50, because it's always needed more than ever, because there's no better time to change your trajectory of your life. And the person who I'm about to bring on is going to explain that very, very well and better than I can. Please welcome the lovely Miss Kristi Falany to the HFWB podcast series. Kristi, how is it going today?
Hey, Clifton. So glad to see you. And I'm so glad that you invited me on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Today has just been an awesome day. I've had a couple of client calls already today, just really helping, uplift them and bring new awareness to the things that might be holding them back in life. And so I hope
Mhm.
that you're having a great day too.
I appreciate that, Kristi. I'm definitely having a great day myself. I can't complain. And that's kind of the reason why I want to bring you onto the podcast. Just for here with the HFWB podcast series, it's all about information. Information being the new money, as in other words, the more informed you are, the more empowered you are, the more you can continue to uplift yourself to create better, healthier habits, which translates to the better, wealthier habits as well, since health is wealth. So we create a
Mm-hmm.
revolution within that. But Kristi, I kind of want you to tell the people who are listening to the HFWB podcast series your backstory, because a lot of people don't know like your overall journey on becoming a life coach. I mean, of course, raising a family, then divorce happens, then at the same time, kids grow up and everything, and there was that constant fear and challenge of, okay, what's the next move? How am I going to overcome this next challenge? Kind of give the people who are listening to the podcast series today basically your background story and how you were able to overcome those obstacles to put yourself in the position you're currently in.
Yes, of course. So I started having my children pretty early in life. I had my daughter when I was 21, and my husband and I had gotten married very early in life,
Mhm.
and we consciously chose, to start our family. But during that time, I was also trying to go to school,
Mm,
and I had bigger aspirations.
right.
It had always been ingrained in me, that your path was go to high school, go to college,
Yep.
then start your family once you've chosen that forever career. And so
Right. Right.
obviously that wasn't the route that we had chose.
We
And
had to take a
so
detour.
yes, yes. So, what I found with my pregnancies was that I tended to get very sick. And so I wasn't able to keep up with both going to school, having a job, and starting our family. So, the
Hmm.
one piece of the equation that kind of fell to the wayside was going to school.
Mm-hmm.
So I went ahead and we started our family. I worked for a short amount of time, and we got ourselves to a position where I was able to stay home with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely love that. Love being that mom that was available to them, at all times, being able to take them back and forth to school, spending that good quality time that, a lot of us moms have the opportunity, and some don't have the opportunity during those developmental and those very nurturing years.
Mm-hmm.
And so as the kids started getting older, a little bit more independent, that's when I decided, okay, it's time for me to go back to school. And so, of course, being that mom who has always been there to help nurture the children and all that, I decided a career path not based off of what I truly wanted for myself, but what I thought would work best for the family. And so that is how I became a teacher, because in my mind, being a teacher meant that I could still be that hands-on mom, that I would still have the opportunities to, be with them during the holidays, to be with them during the summer and things like that. There were times that I absolutely loved it. And there were times that it just was not feeding my soul. And so, again, a lot of people use COVID as kind of a mile marker to the next best thing.
Yeah.
Or
It definitely
to
changed the world, and it created a lot of mile markers for many people, myself included. That's how, ironically enough, I started health, fitness, wealth business was because of COVID.
Yes, yes.
Crazy.
And you're absolutely right. I think that depending on what your mindset is and how you feel about the way COVID affected your life, I
Mm-hmm.
think for a lot of people, it really showed them how vulnerable we really are
Yep.
and how precious time is to us,
I
and
agree.
how precious having the gift of being able to do what it is that you truly want and desire and feel inside of you, how
Mm-hmm.
precious it is to tap into that. And
Mm-hmm.
so the biggest struggle that I saw being a teacher during the time of COVID was the insurmountable pressure that was put on us as teachers. At first, when it first started happening, they were trying to keep school going, normal or as normal as usual, with
Mm-hmm.
us teaching online,
Yep.
and really working hard to get the kiddos and the families bought into this online space.
Yeah.
And so some families took it more seriously, some families not as much. And so that was a lot of pressure on us as teachers. And then when we went back into the classroom, this, whole new set of expectations that was placed on us. And I remember one of the biggest things that they were constantly talking about was self-care, self-care, but
Yep.
they weren't showing us what that looked like,
Yeah.
And so, me, and I've done some talks on this before, but me being, late 40s, early 50s, for me, self-care was like, okay, I might go once a month to get a massage, or I might spend a little bit of extra money on getting my hair done, or
Mm-hmm.
this week I feel like I need a pedicure. And
Yeah.
so during this time when they're telling us, you need to practice self-care, those things were not what was going to lessen my stress level as being a classroom teacher during
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19, having the partitions up on every single desk and trying to space the children out, and them not being able to go and do all of the special classes that they were used to doing. It was just a
Mm-hmm.
whole brand new realm. And so what I ended up finding was actually what self-care is to me now. And that is finding a coach, finding a life coach, and
Mm-hmm.
really digging deep into what self-care truly is. And it
Yeah.
is taking care of your mindset, taking care of your brain, taking care of those neurological pathways that have been dug deep inside of us for years that are causing us to do the same thing year after year after year with the same result, and then wondering, gosh, why is it that I can't change? And
Mm-hmm.
so once I found my own coach and really started digging deeper into the coaching world while I was still teaching, I was like, this is amazing. I mean, it is amazing to get into the depth of my own thinking patterns and how they were holding me back and
Yeah.
how I was staying stuck in a job that I didn't really love. And the amount of time and effort that I was putting out into something that really wasn't feeding me back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It was.
so that's when I really started looking into, what it would take to share this information with other women.
Mm,
And I found the life coach school. That is where I received my first certification. And
mm-hmm.
then after I had started, building up my coaching practice and working with other women, I thought, okay, I need to be more prepared myself in that I want to be able to help women on every facet. I don't want to have to turn someone away if they're dealing with something that's a little bit deeper than what my skill set was. And so
Yeah.
that's how I ended up getting my trauma informed certification,
Mm,
because I just wanted to be able to pour into whoever it was that needed my help and needed the skills and the strategies that I utilize and am able to help them create the life that they truly want for themselves.
I love that pathway of the journey that you just painted, Christy, because the one thing that stood out to me out of everything you just said was just self care. I mean, that's one thing that COVID basically taught us while we were on lockdown is that we got to develop like that personal development routine kind of to where we can be able to start our day the best way possible and just literally take care of ourselves. I mean, most people don't like take advantage of like the first couple of hours of them being up before they actually get their day started. Like I tell people this all the time, Christy, the one book, if I've listed 10 books, if I were to recommend one out of those 10 books to people, one of them will be The Miracle Morning by Al Harad, because that just
Mm.
gives you the blueprint on how you could put together that self-care routine, whether it's affirmations, whether it's visualization, whether it's reading, whether it's journaling, writing down your goals and everything, whether it's obviously exercising, finding time for that moment of silence, prayer and meditation, or just do all of those in no particular order. Just utilize at least the first 2 hours of your day, at least just for self-care purposes. That way we can, of course, be the best versions of ourselves that we could be without a doubt. And I'm glad that you're seeing that you're taking on that challenge, Christy, as far as just showing people on how they can, of course, be a better version of themselves by providing
Mhm.
them like an opportunity to have that coach in their corner, like saying, hey, this is the direction you could go based on what I've been through with my overall experiences, and just kind of giving them that guide to do so. And one thing I love about your overall process, Christy, is that you have like a specific 3-step phase to it, like a rediscovery, a decision, and kind of like that design of what suits them best. Kind of break that down a little bit as far as within your practice on why those 3 phases are important.
Yeah, I love that because a lot of times what happens when women get to this age where they are experiencing empty nest for the first time, where they're
Mhm.
transitioning from being that mom and allowing their kiddos to, head off into the world and, stretch their wings. And even with a lot of women at this age are experiencing, like career changes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, divorce comes into play. A lot of transitions can happen during this time. And
Mm-hmm.
so we sometimes find ourselves in a season of questioning, what is
Mm-hmm.
my purpose?
Yep.
What is my identity? What
Mm-hmm.
am I here for if I'm no longer finding my identity in being a mom or finding
Mm-hmm.
my identity in a career? And so that's what the whole rediscover you part of that equation is getting back to who is it that you are meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, for me, I am a Christian. And so I find my identity first in Christ. And
Without a
so
doubt.
oftentimes, that is where I try to, I don't want to say lead my clients to, but I want to remind them
Yeah.
that is there. Remind them of who it is that Christ says that you are. So
Yeah.
looking for your identity in him first, and then questioning and deciding, allowing yourself to dream, to daydream, to bring back into your mindset of, well, what was it that you wanted when you were a kid? What did you enjoy when you were younger? What sort of things have you maybe set by the wayside that you didn't think that you had the opportunity to come back to? And so doing that brainstorming process really kind of opens up their minds to what could be possible, because a lot of times we just kind of think, well, that's in the past. That maybe that wasn't for me, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't allow ourselves to get back into the daydreaming part of it.
Yeah.
And so those two things together, first, finding your identity, finding your worth in who Christ says that you are, and
Mm.
utilizing that to determine what you actually want your next step to be. And then from there is where we get into the decision making, right?
Yeah.
Making strong, powerful decisions once you've discovered what direction you'd like to go into. And then I help them curate it. I help them design it, like what do those steps look like? And what things do I need to overcome? Or what new patterns do I need to start to create for myself in order to bring into creation the actual life that I want to live at this point to move myself forward and be happy with the life that I have?
I love that. I love the fact that you take it back to the source in a way, as far as starting with the Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. Because it's funny you bring that up, actually, Kristi, because I have the Holy Bible app on my phone, and the verse of the
Mhm.
day from the Holy Bible app, I kid you not, for today is from the book of Hebrews, where it says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that kind of just speaks volumes, because if all else fails, if we are lost in this world, we can go back to the source, Jesus Christ, because we can do anything through Jesus Christ, who gives us the strength to, of course, go the distance. And I like to say, make an impact in an instance, one step at a time. It's just believing in Jesus Christ, and of course tapping into that source, and also just that decision making power of the Holy Spirit that just created the earth, the heavens, everything above, just to kind of like say, hey, when you're feeling down and out and you feel like you want to turn around and walk away from it all, reminding yourself through that source, you can do it, you will do it, and you must do it. And because all glory be to the Most High within God
Yes.
every single
Yes.
time. So that is like the best way every time for anyone listening to the HFWB podcast series is you can find your identity through God, you can find your identity through Jesus Christ, and you can find your identity through the Holy Spirit, the signs of the cross, without a doubt. And at the same time, that just helps the decision making process that much more smoother and simple, because that heavy burden is being taken off of you, to where you don't have to feel like you have the whole world on your shoulders. And then Once that's taken care of, everything else within itself is just designed to where it's tailor-made just for you based on what you're
Yeah.
going through within your overall journey. I love that three-step process within your phases and within your coaching on how you do that, especially for the women going through that in their particular lives at that exact moment. Is there a particular client that you're dealing with currently, or have you done within the past, that has went through that process and completed it successfully enough to where it like solidified everything that you're working towards and everything that you want to do based off of your love and passion? Like, wow, I really made an impact on this person's life. Is there anybody that comes to mind? Because, and before you answer that, Kristi, a lot of people don't notice you have clients all over the state of Texas, and you got clients even outside of the country, if I'm not mistaken correctly, in Australia. Just so for the people who are listening to the HFWB podcast series, I mean, it's a three-step process: rediscovery, decision, and design. It could be heard here in Texas and all around the world.
Yes. And, and that is the beauty of this format, is that I have clients everywhere, and I just
Yep.
love to be able to work with clients. It doesn't mean that they have to be here in Corpus Christi, Texas, although I
Mm-mm.
do give back to the women in my community as well. But because we have this online space, then yes, I
Mm.
am able to, reach as many women as possible. One client in particular, since you asked, her and I were just having this conversation yesterday. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of my clients, I have taken through all three steps of the process,
Mm-hmm.
and they are still excited about what they can still learn, what they can still grow
Mm.
from.
I
So
love
I
that.
do have a lot of clients who go ahead and they continue on just so that we can have a co-creation
Mm.
conversation every week.
Yeah.
Because one of my biggest thoughts and taglines that I use, because I believe it is so true, is that we were not meant to do life alone. We were meant
Mm.
to do life in community. We've
Yeah.
spent too much time trying to, spin our wheels and be independent and do things on our own. So to
Yeah.
come back to that, yes, we are meant to do life in community.
Yep.
And for her, I did not find out until a couple of weeks into our sessions that she is a Christian as well. And so when we were able to connect on that, and connect on that level, it just opened up our conversations on a whole different level. But
Mm.
something that I was talking to her about earlier this week was that for me, Christ is my co-creator
Oh
in
yeah.
everything that I do.
Every
And
time.
she was like, wow. She said, I hadn't really thought about that before. She said, I know that, I can pray and I can ask for things. And if it's within his will, if that's what's in the path for me, that maybe he'll grant them or see them through.
Mm-hmm.
And to take it to a co-creator level just was so different for her, because when you notice that he is in your life, he is wanting to have a co-creation relationship with you, you're able to actually tap into your own intuition, and you're
Mm-hmm.
able to start to trust yourself on a deeper level. You're
Mm-hmm.
able to start to listen to those inner nudges, those ideas that come to mind, and you think, "Oh, that might be really good," or
Yeah.
that'd be something cool to try. And my belief is that if it's placed on your heart and it is a nudge that keeps coming back up, it's definitely something to investigate. It's definitely something
Mm.
to look further into. And I truly believe that, that's where your intuition comes from. And so when
Yeah.
you have that open relationship with Christ, in that, I may try something, and if it fails, what did I learn from it? What
Mm.
can I take from it to continue to apply to my life?
Yep.
And If it goes great, then hey, keep doing it, keep at
Yep.
it, as long as you're continuing to move forward and continuing to grow. So when you ask me, think about a client and something that they've accomplished, that they've seen major growth in, that just first came to mind, because it was a whole brand new idea for her, to think
Mhm.
of being in an actual relationship with Christ.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, and it's funny because there's so many elements you threw out there that we can definitely attack, and it's very true to a degree as far as just a couple things, as far as just
Mhm.
looking within the heart, because another scripture that really comes to mind, and I kind of mentioned this a lot during the American Heart Month and just in general a couple of months ago, that the man looks at the outward appearance while the Lord looks at the heart. As in
Yeah.
other words, we have to get back to starting from the heart, because last time I checked, Kristi, and you could attest to this very well, as far as, when women are, of course, going through the pregnancy phases and when they're visiting the doctor's office and the doctor's, of course, scanning for sign of life within that womb, the first thing they detect is a heartbeat. Most people
Yes.
tend to forget that, and then the heart forms around that heartbeat, and then everything else forms around the heart, and then next thing you know, you got a little tiny individual all curled up in the fetal position inside the womb, ready to experience life into this world. My point being is that we have to get back to, of course, just starting from our heart, because at the end of the day, that's what the Lord is going to look at regardless, and then from there, it's like that's like the first brain, and then everything else connects to the intuition, which is, of course, the second brain that you were alluding to within our stomach, which is why they always say trust your gut feeling. And at the same time, that feeds into the brain that we obviously know well, which is the brain up in our head, which is why it's important to keep all those in alignment, on top of being in tune with, of course, the source, God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, and just all those things just aligned in one. That provides so many doors of opportunities for growth, room for improvement, because you know this, Kristi, we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the questions to all those answers yet. That's when the world becomes a library and much more of a fulfilling journey. And at the same time, it just gives us a chance to evolve more than anything. But
Yeah.
within that process, if anything, for people who are like struggling and who are going through those obstacles still to this very moment on trying to transform their life to the way they envision them seeing it, what would be three key pieces of advice you would tell someone right here, right now, Kristi, on how they can transform their life for the better?
Yeah, you mentioned a morning routine, having a strong, solid morning routine.
Right.
And
Yes.
this is one of the things that I work with first and foremost with my clients, is
Mhm.
how they are spending the first hour or so,
Yep.
of their morning. And so creating a good morning routine where you are creating the space of waking up into the world in a
Mhm.
peaceful manner. I
Yep.
know that one of the things that really kind of held me back when I was teaching was that hitting the snooze, right?
Oh,
And
man.
then before you know it, you're flying out of bed, rushing around, trying to get things going, and your day is already in a chaos.
Yep.
So set
Mhm.
yourself up the night before. Decide ahead of time that you want to wake up an hour earlier to give yourself that peaceful
Mhm.
emerging into your day type thing.
Mhm.
You also mentioned, the book, The Morning Miracle, and I loved all the different aspects that you brought into play. The affirmations, the
Mhm.
gratitude practice, because just a quick little plug. I actually created a 90-day success planner around all of those things. And that
Oh,
is
wow.
the first thing that I do in the morning. Inside that, it has a list of the times throughout your day, so you can time block your day, so that if you find that you are spending a ton of time scrolling and wasting time or trying to figure out, what is it I need to do today, when you time block your day, you see exactly where your open spaces are. And then you can conscientiously decide how you want to fill that time. There's also a daily scripture in there that is set up specifically around identity, around who it is that Christ says that you are. The other thing is that I have a special practice that I do with my clients to help them create strong I am statements. I always like to teach my clients the principle be, do, have, because sometimes we get that out of order. Sometimes we think when we do, then we're going to have, and then we're going to be. So, yes. And then a daily gratitude practice. The quickest thing to take you from fear and worry is to move to a gratitude practice. So the first thing is definitely set your morning up for success. You know, set your day up for success. Takes a little bit of extra, you know, planning, takes a little bit of extra time, but, you know, it can truly make a difference in how your day is going to go. The other thing that I would say is stop thinking that you don't have options. Okay. It's the biggest thing that keeps us stuck, is thinking that we don't have options. And when you understand that you do have options, you start looking into your own skill set to see where you do actually have the skills and you have everything that you need inside of you to create the life that you want. And the next thing I would say is just do it. Just do it. Get into the habit of following through, even when it's scary, even when you're unsure, because that is where you're going to find the teaching moments. That is where you're going to find the nuggets of how to continue to move forward with what you want.
I love that. And for everyone who's listening to the HFWB podcast series at this very moment, they need to rewind exactly what Kristi just said right now, because it kind of feeds into everything that I've been talking about on the HFWB podcast series for now going on the last about to be 3 years in the month of June. Like the importance of having that morning routine to set yourself up for success, the importance of just, you know, finding time to just, you know, looking at things more through your rear view mirror, as I like to say. It's like we all know what we have to do and within life to be successful and be productive. We just have to put our mind to it and do it, which is why I always like to tell all my personal training clients and anyone who I come in contact with, Kristi, train your mind, that way the body can follow. As simple as that is, most people fail to, of course, just practice that within itself, and it kind of feeds into the be, do, have process that you mentioned as well, which is a whole other thing that people don't know about, and it has to be done in that exact order in order to be highly effective every single time. I love all those nuggets that were being dropped there. And again, please rewind everything that Kristi just said for those listening to the HFWB podcast series, because it's well needed and we need to practice it more so where we can continue to grow, improve, evolve, and just continue to get better more than anything. But now, Kristi, we're actually at the point where I'm going to ask you basically a list of questions that I ask everybody who comes onto the podcast. And it's actually a good segue from what we were talking about, because my first question is, what does Kristi Falany do every single morning when she wakes up to start her day?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So even before I do my planner, I take 90 seconds in the morning. I place one hand over my heart, one hand over my abdomen, and I close my eyes. And I take myself in my mind to a space of future Kristi. And I listen to what it is that she has to tell me. And this is where I decide how I want to intentionally begin my day. Do I want to be productive? Do I want to, throughout my day, do I want to, you know, show up with more energy? Do I want to, this is where I set my intention for my day. It takes about 90 seconds, and you can, you know, do it in bed before your feet even hit the floor.
I love that. I might have to practice that myself as far as looking into future Clifton a little bit more. And for everyone who's listening, try that practice as well. If Kristi can do it, and if I begin to do it, y'all could all do it as well. That's very well said, Kristi. Very well said. My
Yeah, it's
next
about
question.
setting your intention for your day.
Yeah, you got to set your intention for the day. It's because, like you alluded to earlier, going into it with a more peaceful manner instead of hopping into chaos and your mind's already racing the moment we wake up. Because we do that over and over again. Health issues are gonna occur, and that's just a whole nother thing we can get into without a doubt. But speaking of that, they say that health is wealth because you can't have one without the other. There's like two sides of the coin, both sides of the coin, rather. What is your personal definition, Kristi, of health and wealth for yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Health is everything, that you just mentioned. And you can live a wonderful, healthy lifestyle and tap into your happiness and tap into the abundance of this world, which doesn't necessarily mean that you have six, seven, eight, $9 signs, in your bank account. Because
Mhm.
as you alluded to, if we do not have our health, then it becomes harder for us to create the wealth in our bank accounts. But at the same time, your wealth is actually inside of you, as
Mhm.
who you are as a person, how you show up in your relationships,
Mhm.
and how you show up to the other people in your community.
Mm.
That to me is wealth
Yeah.
versus the dollar signs.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, and to add on to that, Kristi, it's like when people think of wealth, they think of money instantly. I look at it from two different angles. I look at it as time, utilizing your time wisely, and at the same time, gathering information as far as information that will benefit you to where it will not only empower yourself, you'll help make your friends rich with providing that information, your family rich, and at the same time, you could uplift the community by just passing on the right information to, of course, take the community to the next level to where, again, they can evolve for the better. So it's like wealth is really, in my eyes, and other than money, obviously, is mainly time and information because you got time and information on your side, you're two-thirds of the way there. And most people don't even realize that because they're so focused on the dollar sign. But if they take money out of the equation, what else are you left with? Time and information. What are you going to do with those two things to where you can create your own wealth? And at the same time, you have to take care of yourself because we could worry about the dollar sign in our careers, but do we forget about our health? Without our health, none of that even matters to begin with. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to take it back, Kristi, to the community aspect that you mentioned. What is your definition of when you think of community? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Community is the people that you surround yourself with, and the people that you're willing to go into and find and pour into them. That is what I view as being community, because
Yeah.
I can have my friendship circle, but if I'm not going outside of my friendship circle to bring more people in, then how are they going to learn from what it is that I am wanting to pour out into them? How is it
Yeah.
that they're going to learn all of these skills that I am so eager to share? So your
Yeah.
community is not so much, the family that you have around you and those close knit friendships, but are you willing to go out and create a
Mm.
community outside of that as well?
Yes, I agree 100%. I always like to say, Kristi, it's like unity in the community. It's like sometimes you got to step out of that comfort zone of being around the people that you're comfortable with and create new comfort zones by connecting and expanding with different individuals because at the end of the day, we're all connected to a certain degree because of the law of oneness, one of the 12 universal laws. Because
Hmm.
something that I do could affect somebody who I come across with in my path, whether it's good or bad, I may realize it at that particular moment. I may not. But then vice versa, the cycle continues. It's like we're all connected because to the same energy and the same rhythm of the universe that flows within the energy. So it's like
Yeah.
when I think of community, it just comes back to just we're all connected whether we realize it or not. It's just a matter of how we choose to interact with each other at the end of the day.
Yes. Yes.
I
I
love
totally
that.
agree.
But with that being said, Christy, I'm going to make a little transition into what I like to call either or, where I'll ask you which one you would pick out of the other, just to kind of pick your brain a little bit. First one is going to be, would you rather have loyalty or respect?
Loyalty, definitely. You heard my bio. There was a reason that I became divorced after 21 years. So loyalty for sure. Loyalty creates the
Yeah.
connection between us.
No, that you're absolutely right, and I should have figured that out when I did read your bio earlier. That you were definitely all about loyalty, and there's nothing wrong with that. It really
Yeah.
isn't. I mean, there's a lot. Loyalty is definitely hard to find and rare to find these days. So I'm glad that you stand for as far as a woman of loyalty, without a doubt, Christy. We need more of that in this world. Would you rather live in space or live in the ocean?
The ocean.
Would you rather be famous and poor or anonymous and rich?
Probably famous and no. Famous and poor or anonymous and rich?
Yes.
Famous and poor or anonymous and rich. And can I say neither?
You can. It's an option. But yeah.
Yeah. I think I would say neither, because
You're like fine being right in the middle. Perfect
yeah.
balance. That's
Yeah, because famous and poor, I mean, we've seen several different occasions where fame has really been a destructive
yep.
pattern
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's, just that aspect of it. And then anonymous and rich, I want to be in this community. I want to be, someone who has a voice and who is eager to share, the things that I've learned. Yeah. So I'm going to say neither.
Yeah, when you break it down like that, that makes perfect sense, without a doubt, Christy. Would you rather have unlimited free meals at your favorite restaurant or unlimited first class tickets?
First class tickets. I
Would you
like experiences.
rather, would you rather sing or dance to every song, Christy?
Both.
I
Because I
got you. I
love
got you.
both.
Hey,
But
there's nothing
maybe if
wrong.
I had to choose, I might say dance because I do kind of sound like a chicken when I sing.
Now, picture this scenario, Christy. You're on a deserted island, trapped on that deserted island, but you have the option to listen to five of your favorite music artists. It doesn't matter what genre it is, it could be their whole catalog of music. Who would those five music artists be for yourself,
Hmm.
Christy?
Yeah. Zach Williams,
Mm-hmm.
Mercy Me.
Okay.
Um, oh gosh. I'm enjoying Kane these days.
All right. All right.
I grew up on Metallica,
I
so
love me
I'll
some
probably
Metallica.
still keep them. And maybe some George Jones.
Nothing wrong with a versatile playlist. Nothing wrong with
Yep.
different
Yep.
varieties of music. That's what keeps the brain working a little bit, without a doubt. Just switching it up, and as far as the frequencies that we're accustomed to listening to. So it's perfectly fine, without a doubt. Now, Christy, what is your favorite go-to meal?
Oh, cheese enchiladas for sure.
Mm,
Yeah. That's
that's
my favorite comfort meal, cheese enchiladas.
got it. Now, you did mention earlier, Christy, you do love the experiences as far as traveling goes. Where is the favorite place that you've traveled to thus far, and where is a place you would like to travel to that you haven't been to yet?
Yeah. We had the opportunity to go to Antigua a couple of years ago. And
Okay.
there were a couple of different reasons why we chose, that location. Basically, we wanted the resort style type thing, but we wanted it to be close to the airport. And the the hospitality there, just the community, people out in the community, that was probably the first time that we had ever gone to like a resort and actually went outside of the resort and experienced,
Hmm.
but it was amazing. They are so welcoming, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful area.
Okay.
Oh,
And
and where would I like to go? We just took a cruise earlier this year for the very first time. We had never gone on a cruise before, never experienced it.
yeah.
And we really had a great time, just loved everything that the ship had to offer. And so I think if it took me anywhere where I could swim in blue water, that would be great.
I love it. Just anywhere in tropical paradise. And
Yes.
I like that too, Christy, because that's one of my bucket list items. I've never been on a cruise yet, and that's something that I look to tackle one day too, as far as just getting a chance to venture out in the blue waters and just enjoy the beauty of just looking at clean, beautiful water, because water is a great sense of course, communication, which most people don't know about within the element aspect of things. So I could see that. I really can. But honestly, Christy, whenever you're not doing all the things that you're doing, because I know you're super busy all the time, what are some of your personal favorite hobbies that you like to do that many people may not know you like to do? As a matter of fact, before you answer that, Christy, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't know that you like to run a lot as well, and you take very good pride in that as well. But besides that, is there anything else you like to do that many people may not know you like to do?
Yes, during COVID, I taught myself how to crochet. And so I
Oh,
love to crochet.
okay, okay.
You know, um, I remember when I was a kid, my mom did when we were young, really young. And I don't remember her picking it up, later in life, like as I was growing up. I just remember like a short amount of time when I was younger, that I would see her crochet. And
Mhm.
then my grandmother used to knit a lot. And
Mm,
so that was one of the things that I, helped, pacify the time while we were in, lockdown, was that I went to the store, bought myself some yarn. I had no idea what I was buying, what the materials are. Like you have to have like a specific type of yarn if you're going to make this, and those types of things. No idea. But YouTube was a huge source in helping me learn how to crochet.
gotta love YouTube. It's like these days, if you want to learn how to do anything and everything, go to YouTube. There's someone who made a video on how to do exactly what it is that you're trying to do. And that just goes to show you
Exactly.
the age
Yep.
of information and age of advanced technology that we're slowly transitioning into, without a doubt. My last question for you, Christy, as we wrap everything up here. Imagine you had the opportunity to go back in time, right, and talk to yourself 10 years ago, so to speak. What would you tell yourself? And at the same time, based on your current journey that you're on, where do you see yourself 10 years down the road, Christy?
Yeah. If I had to go back in time, I would tell her to not be so hard on herself. That I would give her some of the, skills and the techniques that I utilize now in my daily practice. And I would just really, really try to help her to understand that she doesn't have to be so hard on herself.
Mm,
In the next 10 years, I envision my coaching practice continuing to bloom. I host a in-person women's group once a month here in Corpus Christi, but I would love to see that expand beyond just Corpus Christi to where we have a online community program, either, through a website, through, some sort of outlet where I have the opportunity to have this amazing community of women who are pouring into each other in one central location where they have everything that they could need at their fingertips to help them to create a life of abundance, a life of joy, and the fulfillment that they're looking for.
It just goes back to everything you say on every single time, Kristi. I mean, hey, now it's your time to start taking care of yourself. And for everybody who's listening to the HFWB podcast series, that's pretty much all the message that me and Kristi are trying to present to you on this particular episode. Now's the time to start taking care of yourself. Basically, your last step, all you got to do is just say yes. And at the same time, are you ready? It's just that simple. Are you ready to make the change to transform your life for the better? And as a matter of fact, that's another good transition to basically tell people where they can find you, Kristi, on how they can learn to begin the steps of beginning that transformational journey that you're sending all women on to empower themselves from the better.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is don't wait until you're ready, because you'll keep telling yourself, well, maybe next month, maybe next year.
Yep.
So get in, say yes, and go for it. Trust yourself. So I am on Facebook under Kristi Falany Coaching or Kristi Falany. I am also on Instagram. My handle is the midlife _rediscovery_coach. And then I also have my website, which is KristiFalanyCoaching.com.
I love it. Kristi, this has been such a long overdue conversation I've wanted to have with you, and I'm honored and grateful that I even had the opportunity to, of course, speak to you about all the things that you do. You pretty much didn't disappoint, and you kind of said everything that I was kind of expecting you to talk about, and then some. And I'm just, again, grateful and honored that you were able to take time out of your busy schedule to simply bless us with an appearance on the HFWB podcast series. Kristi, it's been an honor, and I look forward to many more connections down the road, without a doubt.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
No, without a doubt, Kristi. And by the way, before we end, be sure to go check out Kristi's podcast as well, the Start in the Middle podcast, correct?
Absolutely. Start in the Middle podcast. And if you're ready to get yourself organized in a small increment of time, I also do have my 90-day success planner.
Go check it all out. It's all on her website. She's all over Facebook, Instagram. I mean, and on top of that, like I mentioned, she has a podcast. So there's plenty of information, knowledge, and resources that Kristi will be able to offer you based on the services that she has. With that being said, Kristi, thank you again for just being a guest on the HFWB podcast series and taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm truly blessed for the opportunity for this overall conversation we had. And with that being said, I want to thank everybody for listening to the HFWB podcast series in general, because my name is Clifton Pope. I am your host, encouraging y'all to stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed every single time. And until the next time, peace, love, and positive vibrations.